everyone. I have another word to share, and like with all prophetic words, bring this back to God to make sure it is for you. But to those who this word is for, I just told you on my previous video that you are new mothers or fathers, and you have a new baby, which is this promise, which is your mantle, if that's your promise, which is a relationship, whether it be a job promotion, whatever it is, you recently are a parent, a mother or father to this promise. And as God has been giving me this revelation, which is absolutely beautiful, he brought me to the number 22. I ordered food last night and they gave me 22 as my ticket number. And of course, I feel like that's a good opportunity to look. And God showed me 22 in other areas, but I looked at 22. 22 means like unmarried or not in a state of wedlock, whether it be if you were married before, whether you're widow, but it means like unmarried. And I was like, wow, God, because you just told me I was a mother to this promise, and now you're telling me I'm unmarried or whatever. So I was like, okay, but I knew God was showing me something, all right? And then he brought me to Genesis 22. So I looked at 22, that's in the Strong's Concordance, and then he brought me to Genesis 22, and this is the scripture when God shows us that Abraham's faith is tested. And I'm going to read a little bit of it. So sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. Abraham, God called. Yes, he replied, here I am. Take your son, your only son, yes, Isaac, whom you love so much, and go to the land of Moriah. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will show you. So Abraham was going to do it. And he brought Isaac with him, and, Isaac's like, what are we going to use as a burnt offering? And, Abraham kind of lied to him and said, oh, no, we're going to use a sheep. And as Abraham held up a knife to his son as a sacrifice, at that moment, the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Yes, Abraham replied, here I am. Don't lay a hand on the boy, the angel said. Do not hurt him in any way, for now I know that you truly fear God. You have not withheld from me even your son, your only son. Then Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket. So he took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering in place of his son. Abraham named the place Yahweh Yireh, which means the Lord will provide. To this day, people still use that name as a proverb. On the mountain of the Lord, it will be provided. Okay? So like I said, a lot of you recently are new mothers, new fathers, and you have a son, a daughter, a baby, whatever you want to call it, whether it be this promise. You were pregnant with promise, purpose, what it was, and you recently gave birth, and you are a new mother. But if you look at 517, which is a number that God brought me to, and if you look at my previous video, I had something to say about that. So 517 means a mother. It also means infancy, and it means a parting. So after a mother gives birth, there's still a umbilical cord attaching the mother and the baby, okay? And that kind of is what recently happened with you and your spouse. You were still attached. You were still attached in some way. But just like how the nurse or the doctor cuts that umbilical cord, and then the baby is brought to the nurse or the doctor to get looked at, to get checked at, to get nourished, God is doing that right now. God is cutting this umbilical cord. God is saying, you need to sacrifice this thing back to me. Your faith is being tested. You need to give this to me so I can do a work and get this thing going on a healthy standing, a healthy foot. I need to nourish this properly, give it the nourishment, the nursing it needs, okay? You need to release this. Mothers, fathers, whoever you are out there, you need to release this back to God. True love is the ability to let someone go and still love them anyway, okay? That is what we're doing. We are loving them and letting them go, okay? A long time ago, I read this thing, and it was just about like, women and relationships, whatever. And it was a spiritual thing I was looking at. And in the spiritual thing, it said, she will only be ready when she does not need the love in return. This is our test, you guys. We need to give this promise back to God. Trust God with this. We need to pass this test. And once we give this back to God and show God that He is our number one, regardless of anything, that we need to show God, like, truly in our hearts and believe, like, we will be okay, God. If you don't give this to me and it's just you and me for the rest of my life, I will be okay. And God needs to see that type of faith. God needs to see that type of devotion and love and fear of Him. God needs to see that in order to release this back to us. Okay? God is cutting the umbilical cord, and we're allowing the great nurse, the great doctor, to cut this umbilical cord and give it into His hands. Give this baby to Him to do a work, for Him to do a work on our babies. And we can trust God with our babies. Okay, we can trust God with our babies. We can give it back to God. God is going to do a work on this thing, all right? Give your spouse your promise, your mantle, whatever it is, the nourishment it needs to survive. And both of you, through this cutting of the umbilical cord, are going to learn on your own. And grow on God's terms. There's a divine order to this. God also brought me back to a number of divine order. This is in divine order. This is in God's order. God is a man of order. And we need to follow it and show God our loyalty and our love and our faith and our belief in Him. And God will provide for us. Okay? So I hope this message reached who it was meant to reach. I love you all. And again, bring this back to God to make sure it's for you. I love all of you. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful day. Bye.